All right, so good evening, everyone. So tonight we are going to, it feels so weird saying tonight when I got the sunshine through my window, but we're going to be reviewing chapter 14 and 15. So I am going to go over questions with you guys because I do want to make sure that we understand chapter 14 and 15 very well. Okay. We're getting more into the notarizations that you may not come across very frequently, but when you do, you want to know what to do. Okay. You don't want to be stumbling and like, oh my God, what am I going to do? Okay. So, chapter 14, meeting the needs of disabled signers. Is there anyone in here that does notary signings for nursing homes or hospitals? No, I was hoping I can get somebody to share their experience. Okay. Well, there are three different types of, or three different kinds of disability that they list here. Okay. And they are physical disability, intellectual disability, and legal disability. Okay. So I have yet to come across anyone with a physical disability, but I do know what to do if I do encounter that type of signing. Um, Basically, it would just mean that a person, like if a person had a stroke, if a person was in a car accident, um, if a person had any type of incident that caused some type of paralysis, or maybe they're missing some fingers on the hand that they predominantly write with, that will be a reason why they would need to either sign by mark, or if they could just scribble and it's not their usual signature, that's preferred over a signature by mark. And then we have the intellectual disability and legal disability, where it will most likely be someone signing on behalf of that person, and that person would not likely be signing on their own. Now, with the legal disability, it varies because you do know that 16-year-olds can be emancipated. You know, their parents can sign off saying that they can act as an adult and make their own decisions. So those will be the only like exception for the legal disability right there. And when they say legal, it's just a minor, or that's just really what it is. Well, it says youthful age or proven insanity. So those would be legal. Okay. And we went over the signature difficulties. Have you guys ever come across someone who just could not sign their name for whatever reason, and they end up having to just do a little scribble or use a mark? Has anybody ever done a signing with that like that before? Have you ever been asked to? No? Oh man, you guys are no fun tonight. Okay.
Hey, I'm
So
I'm,
that's
I'm still
signature.
new. I'm still
Okay.
new, so hopefully when I encounter it, I know what to do because I'm learning from now.
Okay.
I,
Okay.
I kind of experienced it a little bit and stuff when my arm was broke. My right arm, it was in a cast. And in my doctor's office, I had to go through like sign all these papers with my attorneys and stuff, and I couldn't.
Oh man.
So they allowed me to use my left hand, but it was just like I couldn't even write with my left hand either because I had the other thing on. Both my arms were pretty much broken, or I couldn't use either one of them. So they allowed me
Ouch.
to have the notary to look at my ID, and I had to have and I used my other passport ID because both my pictures on there to verify that it was me. And I had to like do this like little, it was something, but it wasn't like a signature, just like what I can make on the paper. And they took that.
Right.
But they used
Right.
those two IDs, put my picture on there.
Okay.
So
They
that's
didn't
a
they
little
didn't
bit.
need to use a witness or anything?
Say it again.
They need to use a witness.
Well, they used one of the persons in the office as a witness that, because luckily I had those two IDs. And so with my picture on it, with my signature matching like the same signature on the two IDs. And then that's what they
Okay.
used. And the witness said it was me.
Okay. All right, cool. Now, Ebony He's asking, with someone that has a physical disability, could we use an ink stamp, for example, a thumbprint mark? So it did say in the chapter that there are some states where you can use a thumbprint as a person's signature. I'm in Florida, and we would just use a signature by mark, or if they can manage to scribble, we can use that as well. But I did read on here that that is permissible in some states. And that's the thing. When we are going through these, you guys always want to make sure you check your state, okay? Because every state is different. Okay. Let's see. Now it says that the procedure does not require a special acknowledgement certificate to be used, but many notaries do prefer to use a special purpose signature by mark form, which I do have one. So if I was if I was ever asked to do a signature by mark, I would make sure that I would have that type of certificate with me on hand already. All right. Let's see here. And then it gives you an example on page 190 of a certificate that you would use for a signature by mark signing. Now, it was really interesting reading about the impaired communication, because I live in Florida, so I'm going to have that a lot. And I have had that a lot where I don't speak any other language than English. And I have a lot of Spanish speaking people who call me up and they need for me to either be able to speak it, or I need to just be really patient because they have limited English communication and they try their best to communicate with me. I've had even situations where a signer speaks Spanish. She has limited English, but she can read English really well. So we were having to talk by text. I did an online notarization, and it says that as long as they're able to understand you, you can communicate with them verbally, you can communicate with them by writing it down, or if for some reason they could not hear, if you can sign language, that is a language that you can use, so if you're able to do signing with them, you can use that as well. I can't do either, but I don't speak another language. I don't sign. I wish I did. Are there anyone here who speaks more than one language or can sign language? No? Okay. Now, what I had to do with her was when we did the run, I was having to text message her everything that I was saying. And it was being recorded. So I would say it and then I would text it to her so they can know that whatever I'm saying, I'm, text it to her. It was a really interesting transaction for sure. Because I was thinking like, well, if you can read it, why you can't understand it? Like, I know you can't say it back to me, so that I could understand, but I don't know. But yeah, so you may be approached with those type of situations as well.
She was able to, when she was reading it, was she able to comprehend what she was reading?
Yes, because she was answering me, from what she was reading, she was answering me correctly. But when I was talking to her, she just was just like, and I was like, really? Yeah. So I was like, wow. And they have to be able to understand, because if she couldn't understand the text or me talking, I would have had to end the transaction period, because I can't, I can't assume like, well, she knows. So no, you can't do that. They have to be able to understand you 100%, whether you're typing it, saying it, signing it, they got to be able to understand and comprehend it. So she was able to read. Who was that talking?
That was me, Mary. I'm sorry.
Oh.
I kind of understand that because my dad speaks Creole. My dad's family speak Creole. I can understand it, but I can't speak it. But when they speak it to me, I can understand it and respond back to them in English. Why is that? I don't know. So it's kind of weird and stuff. But I understand everything they're saying to me, but I can't speak it. But I respond to them in English, and they know what I'm saying. So I don't know. I don't know what that. But now I'm learning it now. I'm taking a course now to learn it. So So I could be able to,
Oh, good.
yeah, yeah.
I would love to be able to speak Spanish and do sign language.
You're taking a course for Creole or sign language?
For Creole, I know a little sign language because I have 3 deaf family members. So I take it for them. But I'm taking Creole classes, like French classes, so I could be able to relate to my family, but respond back to them. Because my dad, he fusses at me because I don't speak it, but I can understand it.
He fusses at you, huh?
You
Like,
understand it?
you should be able to speak
Because
it.
they used it when you were smaller.
Because I knew it when I was smaller, but when him and my mom separated, I was away from the language, but I still can pick up on what they're saying. You know what I mean?
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Because it's instilled in you. It's just there, you know?
In Spanish, yeah.
Wow. Yeah, I don't understand it. I don't, speak it. And it's really unfortunate because people who have those additional skills do very well in business. Very, very well. Okay. So awareness, intellectual disabilities. I haven't come across any intellectual disabilities. Minors, I have come across that where I've had to sign documents for parents regarding minors, but the minors never had to sign the documents. So I don't know how that would apply to that, but I guess like it was saying, if it was like a court situation or, like a minor was testifying to witnessing something, then they would have to sign a document and you have to make sure that they understand what they're signing. So that would be the only situation where I could think of a minor having to sign. Most documents that I've had to notarize have been permission slips or consent forms or travel forms. Usually the kids don't have to sign those, so I haven't had that experience. Now, see, Ebony, here in the summary, it says in all but a few states, notaries may not perform notarizations for persons who cannot write their signatures or at least make a mark such as an X or a thumbprint. If a signer cannot write a signature but can make an X or leave a thumbprint, which is called a signature by mark, the document may be notarized. So it says a few states you can't do it. So I don't know what states those are. It didn't say here, but it says there are a few states where that is not allowed. So very interesting. All right. So I am going to ask you guys some questions. You're welcome. So number 1, document signers with disabilities, A, cannot handle their affairs, so their signatures cannot be notarized. B, sometimes require the notary to employ special procedures. C, make notarization impossible, so notaries must refuse service. Or D, have legal rights like every other person, so notaries must always perform the requested act.
B.
Sometimes require the notaries to employ special procedures. Okay, let's see. I was thinking D, but let me look. Let's see. I don't even know. Oh, it's on 333. Okay. I didn't write any of these down, so. Yep, you're right. Number 1 is B. Sometimes require the notary to employ special procedures. So good job, Angelica. Number 2, when a person cannot write. I'm sorry?
I said, oh, you know my voice because you had never looked up.
I did look up.
Oh.
Now, number 2, when a person cannot write a signature, the notary, A, may allow another person to guide the individual's hand to sign the document with appropriate witnesses. B, may instruct the person to sign with a pen held in the mouth. C, must sign the document by proxy for the person. or D, may notarize a signature by mark with appropriate witnesses?
D.
D.
Yeah, we all knew that one, right? Yes, it is D. All right, number 3. A signature by mark notarization involves A, 2 witnesses, including a notary, B, 2 notaries in addition to a witness, C, 2 witnesses in addition to the notary, or D, 2 witnesses in place of the notary?
D.
D.
Yep, it is C.
Two witnesses.
It is C. Now, it was saying though here that if a notary can have 2 witnesses in place, like instead of the notary being one of the witnesses, letting it be 2 witnesses other than themselves. All right. Number 4, with a blind signer, the notary should proceed carefully because sightless persons usually are not capable of acting responsibly. B, a potential for fraud exists. C, the blind are usually misled about the contents of a document. D, the notary must read and explain the document to a blind signer.
Potential for fraud.
Exactly. A potential for fraud exists because a person can't see what they're signing. So, you don't know if they understand it or not. But in the book, it did say it is okay for you to read it to them, just not, explain to them what it means. You just read it to them and they should be able to comprehend it. If they cannot, then you can't perform the notarization. Number 5, a hearing impaired document signer, A, must communicate directly with the notary through lip reading, sign language, or written notes. B, must communicate with the notary through a third person. C, must bring a court-appointed translator to ensure accurate communication. Or D, must provide a certificate of comprehension signed by a doctor.
A.
A.
That is correct. A, they must communicate directly with the notary through lip reading, sign language, or written notes. All right. And then last one here, number 6. I'm not going to do the journal entry one. We've already been through journal entries and stuff like that. Number 6, notarizations for disabled signers. A, must be performed using special notarial certificates. B, can be refused if there are not 2 witnesses. C, may be performed using regular notarial certificates. D, must be performed using jurat certificates but not acknowledgements. Actually, it's C, may be performed using regular notarial certificates. You don't have to have a special certificate, but if you prefer to use one, you can. You just need to make sure you got good notes in your journal for the entry. All right. You guys have any questions about chapter 14? All right, we're moving on. Chapter 15, notarizing for minors. So we all know the legal age for a person to sign for themselves is 18 and up. But normally, if a parent or guardian or court-appointed guardian, they must sign on the minor's behalf, right? So if a person is in foster care, and that person is their guardian legally, or if the person is their parent, period, they have to sign on the minor's behalf. But like I said before, in certain rare instances, minors may lawfully sign documents and have their signatures notarized. Those situations are, if they have to sign an affidavit because they witnessed something, or if they are emancipated minors, okay? Let's see. What are the concerns for notaries? Has anyone ever had to notarize a minor signature? No? Well, it does say here that if the minor is able to produce identification, and if for some reason they are understanding what they're signing that they can sign. In most instances, you want to make sure that they're not being coerced or forced. So it is okay for you to ask the parents to leave the room if you have to question the minor. Okay. I have not had to notarize for a minor, like I said before. So I don't know what I would do with that situation. I mean, I know we should not refuse, if it is within our jurisdiction to notarize a document, but I would definitely always have my primer on me, my state primer, and I would definitely just have to read up on it to make sure that I am doing everything correctly. And determining the willingness with minors is not like doing it with adults, because with adults, you want to make sure that they're aware of what's going on. But with minors, you can just ask them straightforward. Is anybody forcing you to sign this? And yeah, you could just ask them, or if you're talking to them and they are kind of standoffish, they're scared to talk, you could end that right there. Like, no, we're not going to do this today, because I can't notarize for them if they seem scared or forced or anything like that. No, I'm not going to do it. Okay. And what is this last part? Authority to sign. Notaries should make a reasonable effort to determine what the minor does have the authority to sign. So it is our duty to make sure that we determine if the minor has the authority to sign on their own behalf. Okay. Because, I know some people, especially in other notary groups, I'm just witnessing signatures. No, sometimes you're not just witnessing signatures. You have to actually make sure that the person signing has the authority to represent themselves or represent in the capacity that it states. Okay. So, no, we're not just witnessing signatures sometimes. Okay, Key, what's your question?
So I know for my daughter, when they had to prove her identity for something else, it wasn't for another act or anything, but just in general, they had, or matter of fact, it was when she was getting her driver's license here in Texas. She had to provide a school ID, but also proof of enrollment, like a report card or an enrollment letter. Could that not also be a means that we could request for the minor because they don't have an ID to try? Probably no.
But always, because Key, I don't think you're here in Florida, always reference acceptable types of identification in your state. On my list of acceptable identification documents, that's a no.
Okay, I'll have to check. I didn't get a chance to yet. So thank you.
You're welcome. All right, guys. So I'm going to go ahead and ask the questions for chapter 15. And then if you don't have any questions, we are done. All right. So let me get back here. Okay. Number 1, normally to sign contracts and legal documents, one must A, reach the age of majority, B, be a citizen of the United States, C, possess a state-issued driver's license, D, be registered to vote.
A.
Correct. It is A, reach the age of majority. Number 2, a notary should blank refuse to notarize for a minor if the youth is aware and willing to sign, has authority to sign, and presents adequate identification. A, normally, B, always, C, never, D, not necessarily.
D.
Not necessarily.
That is correct. That's correct because we don't know. That's why it's our job to make sure that they have that authority. As long as they present and it states that this is what they need to do, then you just need to make sure that they're aware and they understand what they're signing and that they're not being forced. All right, number 3. Normally, the greatest problem in performing notary acts for signers who are minors is determining A, their willingness and awareness, B, their identity, C, their authority to sign, or D, their age.
Identity. We were just talking about that one.
Exactly. It would be B, because what if they haven't reached the age to where they can get a state ID, you know? So that would be quite a difficult task. Number 4, a notary should require a minor to write his or her blank next to the document signature. A, parents' names and addresses. B, social security number. C, age. D, school.
C.
Correct. Age. Should definitely be able to write their age next to their signature. All right. Number 5, the ideal credible identifying witnesses or identifying minor signers are A, non-relatives who are unaffected by the document. B, their own parents. C, relatives who are unaffected by the document. D, other minors.
A.
It is A. You definitely don't want to have anyone, obviously, who's going to have any benefit from them signing. And parents will most likely have a benefit to them because they're still under the control of their parents. Okay. All right. Last question. Number 6. Minors have a blank that may disqualify them from signing documents on their own behalf. A, mental disability. B, legal disability. C, maturity disability. D, physical disability.
B.
Legal.
Disability.
Yep, that is correct. Legal disability, unless they are what? Emancipated. All right, so that's it for chapter 14 and 15. Did you guys have any questions about 15? Nope, we're good. All right, so the next time we meet, we'll be discussing chapter 16 and 17. 16 is troublesome documents. That should be a really good one. Really, really good one because we encounter that all the time. And accommodating the recorder. That's a really short one.
You got to go. Let's see. I don't even know.
What'd you say?
I'm trying to see how many more chapters we have.
Only like 23.
It goes up to 20.
Yeah, so we're about done. Gonna be moving on to our next book. Let's see. Yep. Goes to 24. So we got 1, 2, and so we got 3 more weeks in this book. But for the last one, huh?
I was asking, are they just as well? The next chapter look longer. Never mind.
Yeah, the next chapter is not. Yeah, we have about 3 more weeks if we do it the way that we're doing it.
Right.
For the last week, I'm gonna do 3 chapters though, 22, 23, and 24. Instead of doing the 2.
Real short. Yeah, chapter 18 is real short. Yeah.
Yeah, so for some of these we could do 3.
Yeah.
You know. But yeah, so we're gonna do 17 and 18. Yeah. So we're almost through it, guys.
I said nice.
Well, if you guys don't have any questions, I can go ahead and end the book club meeting. I will make sure I post a recording on the channel. And then I look forward to seeing you guys next Tuesday at the same time.
All right.
All right, guys. Have a good night. Talk to you next week.
Have a good night.
Have a good evening.
You too. Bye.